Welcome to today's webinar entitled Squeezing Maximum Profits from Your Existing Marketing, presented by Nick Dimitru. Learn how to convert more prospects to clients, more clients to referrals, and more referrals to profit. Instead of adding more advertising campaigns, learn how to fine-tune your internal systems to maximize the client experience, referral, and follow-up process without spending additional money. You will leave the webinar with a deeper understanding of how to delight and enchant new and existing customers in your spa, salon, or clinic. Topics to be covered will be scaling your business by fully leveraging your internal systems, asking the great questions when handling incoming calls, delighting and enchanting customers the moment they arrive, maximizing the treatment experience through remarkable care, when and how to ask clients for referrals, how to follow up after a client visit. An entrepreneur for more than 15 years, Nick Dimitru has been singularly focused on helping business owners quickly achieve exponential growth in the beauty, health, and wellness industry. He's the president and founder of Think Basis, Inc., a boutique business strategy and marketing consulting firm located in Toronto, Canada. Nick has a unique ability to see gaps, spot opportunities, uncover hidden profits, and develop strategic partnerships with concrete results that are scalable and measurable. He's committed to offering at least one bold new idea at every client meeting that consistently makes them more money. Nick has been featured as an expert in Inc. magazine, The Globe and Mail, IT World Canada, and CBC Radio Canada. Nick is passionate about entrepreneurship, empowerment, and human potential. And now, without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to you, Nick.
Thank you very much, Kirsten. We have a lot to cover, and I want to be respectful of everyone's time and get through everything. So let's just get right into it. What we're going to be covering today is going to be essentially scaling your business through systems, understanding what systems do, and reaping the benefits of that over time. Properly handling incoming calls, delighting your customers at reception, maximizing the treatment experience within the clinic to get the most out of it for your client and for your bottom line, enhancing the chance of referrals, so you want to make sure that clients come back and tell others about you, and pulling the client back after her visit. All businesses have systems, whether they know it or not. There's a way you do things. The only question is if you're doing things the way that produce maximum profits and gives maximum benefit to your customer. Henry Ford is famous for saying that customers can have their choice of any color as long as it's black. Now, that might sound draconian, but he was a man that understood the benefit of having a system and sticking to that system for increased profits. Both Jobs and Ford, two very famous people in history now, were both more marketers than inventors. They both understood that it's not necessarily the invention or the thing that makes a business successful, but the way that it's marketed. They both took something that was already out there and matched it perfectly with consumers' needs and desires. Marketing, as a definition, involves everything you do to create and retain a customer. It's all-encompassing. Marketing can be synonymous with business, and great systems are the foundations of great business. So some of the key benefits of systems. The first is consistency. Of course, once you know what you're doing, you can be consistent and make sure that every client experiences the same result and gets the same benefit from what you're doing. The second is refinement. Once you know what it is that you're doing, you're able to refine it and maximize it and enhance it so that, you can go back, you can refine it, you can create more value along the way. The third is innovation. So once you have a system in place, your mind is free to look for better and different ways to do things because you're no longer doing things in a knee-jerk reaction or in a reactionary mode to the situation. The fourth thing is furtherance, which means that you can now pass things along to other employees or contractors or anyone else that needs to get plugged into your business and do things the way that you know they should be done. Next is cost, of course. Once you have a system, you're able to fine-tune where the leaks are. You're able to plug the holes and make sure that you're not losing anything along the way, and you become extremely efficient in how you do things because it reduces everything from training to wasted expenditures. And finally, for any business owner, it's freedom. Freedom is absolutely crucial to all of us. It's why a lot of us got into business in the first place. Unfortunately, business ends up taking over. Once you have systems in place, you're able to, because of this concept of furtherance, allow yourself to set yourself free from the business and really give your mind the ability to invent and create new and better things for the business rather than just getting bogged down in the day-to-day activities of what it is that you're doing. The benefit that clients experience over time is, of course, quality, refinement. Unlike the Model T Ford, which was the image in the first example, today's cars are more refined, they're more enjoyable, they're much safer, and they're far better performing, obviously. All of this is made possible by systems that are solid and they're continuously improved. And your business system can be the same. Don't fool yourself into thinking that it's difficult or it's not attainable. Everything starts from the first step, and the end result is just phenomenal. So you can go from a great idea to a phenomenal product, all by keeping what works and refining and innovating based on a solid foundation. Apple is a great example of this. They went and kept everything that was wonderful about the very first Macintosh in terms of typography and, giving the user a quality experience, which to today's example of the iPad, which is a very easy to use product and very, very built on the foundations of everything that Apple learned from the past. So let's get into building a process map. Business systems sound complex, and they can be, but they all start off very, very simple. You can build a process map using just a few basic shapes. In this particular example, we're going to use 2 primary ones and then 2 which signify the beginning and the end. So essentially it can be broken down to 4 or just 2 primary systems in anything that you do. Let's take the example of going on vacation to Paris. You have a beginning point where you have the desire to go on vacation. You then need to take your first action. The action is signified by a rectangular shape. So your first action might be to contact the travel agent and get some information. So that's the action that you take. Speaking with the travel agent, you then need to make a decision. Do you decide to fly first class or coach? The travel agent gives you a decision that has to be made, which is signified by the diamond shape. Next, you choose one of those actions. Either you go coach or you go first class or business class. And that brings you to the end of the system. So in its very simplest form, this is a complete system that you can now take and you can refine. Looking at your decision, what would you improve the next time you went on vacation? Would you want to go first class or would you want to go coach? Was one decision better than the other? The next time you go on vacation, you're able now to pass this on to an assistant, for example, and have her follow the very rudimentary steps to booking your flight. So you no longer have to tell her who to call, where to call, what to do, what choices to make. She can follow a system and then get you booked properly. And this, is a very, very simple example, but it can be used in any business to start the foundation of mapping out the things that you do in your business that get you the results that you want to get. The actual business example can obviously be more complex, but it all starts with these basic shapes. So having the plans to your business puts you in control of the outcome of your efforts. It also lets you refine, improve, train others, and your enterprise. A blueprint can be replicated and improved and extended, whereas just doing things that are in your own head take a lot of time to communicate to your employees, take a lot of time to communicate to staff and contractors, and there's no real basis for consistency. So I would challenge you to look at how you do things and find ways to improve them for your clients and for your bottom line. Look at ways to create more efficiency, look at ways to create more client satisfaction, look at ways to reduce your staff training costs, for example, by having the system manual in place and then easily passing that on to any new recruit so that it's no longer tying up multiple staff times in training people. Business systems integrate into marketing and into advertising. So the true costs of advertising are somewhat hidden. Millions of dollars are spent on creating advertising campaigns. Some of the ones that you're seeing right now are some of the most brilliant ones in history. But the real question is what happened next? Even though they were all phenomenal ads, thinking that the ads are all the companies did to succeed ignores the systems in place to enhance end results and ensure sales. When we refer to costs, the costs of advertising are essentially all about return on investment. Customer acquisition rates are the cornerstone of successful advertising campaigns. So all advertising is about return on investment. The cost of an ad is really inconsequential. The ad can be as cheap or as expensive as you want it to be. the only factor that really makes that ad worthwhile is whether you were able to make money with the ad. The cost of the ad is really of no relevance. So we're looking at calculating the customer acquisition cost, which the formula basically is dollars spent divided by the number of leads generated times 1 divided by the closing percentage. So let's look at a real world example. Let's say that you put out a newspaper ad, full page ad, $5,000, which generated you 100 leads. That's roughly $50 a lead times a 10% closing rate gives you a customer acquisition cost if you close 10% of those customers that came in of $500 per customer. Now, it's very important to understand that number because lowering that number is the quickest way to squeeze more out of your existing advertising. So simply by raising your conversion by 15% to 25%, you would reduce your acquisition cost to $200 per customer from $500 per customer, which is for 40% of your current spend to acquire that customer. This means that for the same amount of money, you got an additional 15 clients. Taking the average customer value of $2,000 a year, that's an extra $30,000 without spending a penny more on advertising. And it's extremely important to understand that. You're not giving up anything else. You're simply refining your closing rate to get more from the calls coming in, which can result in an additional $30,000 in business from that one single ad. Now, the sobering reality is that 95% of businesses will never reach $1 million in revenue if they survive at all. So let's look at some of the reasons for that. Keeping our example very simple and assuming no other revenue sources, at a straight rise, it would take an extra 30 years to reach $1 million in revenue. This doesn't take into account any factors such as increased profits, innovation, new opportunities for increased revenue generated by the additional income, or anything else to do. And we're just looking at a very, very straight line, straightforward example. If you simply increased your conversions by 15%, you would reduce the amount of time that you would take to reach $1 million by 30 years. And if you've got an extra 30 years, I mean, that's wonderful. If not, this is something that should be paid very, very close attention to and how your leads are converting. If we factored in all of those other factors such as increased opportunities, the ability to market more, the ability to hire more staff, expand, you're probably looking at 5 versus 50-year plan instead of 20 versus 50. So it's extremely important to look at conversions. Step 1, the question then becomes, how are you handling your incoming calls? We spend all our time, money, and energy generating a lead. Yet when the lead hits the clinic, it simply falls short. And we see this again and again. It's the frontline staff, what's typically the lowest paid employee, has the most impact, the highest impact on marketing in the whole clinic. So let's examine in step 1, which is essentially the incoming call, 3 techniques that can help you improve your conversion rate. The first is scripts, consultative sales, and then closing sales. From the beginning of recorded history, mankind has used scripts to ensure the accurate transfer of knowledge. Some key factors that make for great scripts are making sure that the right questions are asked. Giving prospects accurate information which aligns to strategic objectives for creating authority are absolutely key whenever somebody picks up the phone. So what's the first thing that you need to worry about? What's the initial thing that people want to hear? The first thing that you want to make sure is that all the right questions are being asked. When you get an inbound call, you want to ensure that you create a connection and achieve your objective. So don't allow your staff to simply pick up the phone and not have a goal. Staff needs to be trained that there's a purpose to the call and there's an end goal to every call, whether it's booking a consultation, whether it's collecting the person's contact information. There should be a strategic objective to every single phone call that's picked up. However, don't ever make the mistake of allowing people to dictate to the client. Identify what the client wants rather than what you think she should hear. Let the prospect talk herself into a sale. Don't try to force her into an outcome. The old-style hard close tactics are not as effective as they once were, unfortunately. Just like a plug fitting into a socket, it's important to match your products to the client's requirements. And there's a very key concept we're going to get into in a moment. So what are some of the questions that we can ask? If you are experiencing a poor conversion rate, it probably means that you need to ask better questions. It's a very key indicator that questions are not being delivered. Open-ended questions are the secret to getting the clients talking and giving you the crucial information you need. For example, instead of, do you want to get smoother skin? You would ask, what results would you want for your skin from this treatment? The questions give you the tools that you need to build an appropriate response when selling. The client will tell you what's important to her. You don't have to guess at it or try to come up with prefabricated scripts that are not necessarily in line with what she's looking for. The yes or no type question provides you with very limited information, and those questions don't create a bond of trust with your prospect, and that's very, very, very important. If the questions that are being asked solicit a yes or no answer, there's no opportunity for the client to talk, to tell her story, to convey her fears, her worries. It's absolutely crucial that you build that rapport with open-ended questions. Understanding this, what you're trying to do now is you're establishing a fit between your product and the client's needs, desires, worries, and fears. The wrong product match will not fit your client's requirements. No better than your plug will fit into a European socket or vice versa. That's really the primary reason why so many sales pitches fail. You can't assume you know what matters to your caller. Let me tell you a quick real-life story which happened with one of our cosmetic clients. They got an inbound call from an individual, which they later found out was a rapper. And this individual asked about Botox treatment, believe it or not. So he was very concerned with Botox, and he wanted to find out more about it. Now, if they didn't have an open-ended question process in place at reception, the receptionist's knee-jerk reaction would usually be to describe Botox, to describe the costs, the benefits, the risks, the treatment procedure, why the clinic is so wonderful, basically everything you would think is doing a phenomenal sales job. Unfortunately, this person's only concern was that he had no visible signs of the treatment 2 weeks prior, 2 weeks post-treatment, because he had a television interview and he wanted to make sure that he wasn't embarrassed and that the treatment would not leave any kind of marks or cause him problems. So because the receptionist was able to ask the right questions, she got these concerns out of the client and then was able to tailor the pitch towards his requirements. So she focused primarily on the recovery time, the expertise of the nurse, and how her track record in not causing issues, the percentages of people that don't experience problems with Botox, and in essence, she matched the product to the client's desire. So she didn't waste time. Cost was of no consequence to him, so she didn't need to waste time on that. She essentially gave the client what he wanted, when he wanted it, causing that immediate relationship, and she allowed him to speak about his problems, about his concerns, creating a connection with him. The key image here that needs to be brought forth is that once you match your product to their needs, you electrify the relationship and the flow of money begins. And it's crucial to match that. If your product, your service, your business does not perfectly align and plug into your customers' needs, wants, desires, and fears, there is going to be no spark and there's going to be no exchange of funds. So this simple process of refining the incoming call and understanding what questions need to be asked, which can cost absolutely no money, just spending a little time in refining and testing this can add volumes to the bottom line. I've seen clients literally double, triple, and quadruple sales just by doing this from their existing ads. Now, the other thing with sales training that is very crucial is to understand that you can talk yourself out of a sale just as quickly as you talk yourself into one. So acknowledge the client when she's made a request and stop the sales pitch immediately. I want to tell you another very quick story from an experience I had with a real estate client. I was on site with a new house builder, troubleshooting some sluggish sales. They were having problem moving some properties and they didn't understand why. So they called me in to examine their sales force and their systems and see where the problem was. And we had a woman, I was shadowing the agent at the time, and we took her through the properties. We showed her several, we pointed out all the benefits, all the key issues with the property. And there came a moment when she said, "I'm ready to buy, let's go." And I watched in horror as this sales agent literally started talking himself out of a sale. Instead of closing his mouth, proceeding to the sales office, he started going on about the economy, about interest rates, about every imaginable thing that you could think of, rather than taking the money that was placed before him. So knowing what not to say and when not to say is absolutely crucial. Staff has to be trained to listen for that point, and when the client has had enough, they need to quickly move them on to the next strategic objective, which can be a consultation, a booking for a treatment, whatever it is that the client wants, and don't allow them to talk themselves out of a sale. So the key lesson here is to not fall in love with your product or service. It's absolutely crucial that you love your customer first and serve her needs first. Don't assume that everyone in the world is as enamored with your business as you are, because at the end of the day, people call you because they have a need or they have a desire and they want to meet it, and simply spouting on about how great your business is not going to achieve anybody's goal. So absolute vital lesson is to not fall in love with your business, fall in love with your customer. This brings us to step 2 in our process, which takes us to the waiting room and the first point of physical contact with the client. So we've received the incoming call, we've booked the consultation or treatment successfully. Now the client walks into the clinic. The first concept to keep in mind is the fact that time is elastic. With the absence of a watch, it exists solely in our minds, and that perception can be influenced. And there's tremendous power in realizing that you have near total control over your customer's mental, emotional, and physical state within your business. So ask yourself, what am I doing now? What is the customer experiencing? And what can you do to reduce the angst, the worry, the concern, the frustration associated with the waiting process? Here's a real-life example of one of our clients. They are a cosmetic surgery firm, and they have a rather attractive receptionist, and she goes around the waiting room when we were observing her, and she would ask a question such as, would anybody like coffee, tea, or a snack? Because she was a very nice girl, because she was attractive, there was a mixed crowd of both women and men. Everybody pretty much said no, and you could tell that they were shy to ask, hesitant. They didn't want to inconvenience her. It's akin to someone coming to your home and essentially you giving them the run of the house and just saying, there's the fridge, help yourself, make a sandwich, whatever you like. Any guest that comes into your home, unless they've got a different type of relationship with you, probably would not take you up on your very sincere offer. Yet if you went into the kitchen, fixed the sandwich and, a cup of tea, a cup of coffee, a nice bottle of wine and glasses, and brought it to them in the living room, it would be very hard for them to say no to your request. So when you're looking at your business, changing how you interact with clients is absolutely crucial. This story illustrates, and the change that we made there is we had the drinks pre-made. We had them come out with the receptionist, and essentially they were offered to the clients, and it absolutely changed the way that the acceptance rate was. So because they were no longer inconveniencing her, the drinks had been made, the snacks were on plates, little cookies, little bite-sized snacks were ready to go, they were essentially, being rude by refusing them. So even if the wait times were long, this interaction that she had with them and the little treats and the coffee that was presented there, and it was very easy for them to say yes rather than saying no, absolutely changed the perception of time in that office. It was no longer, a boring, tedious encounter. It was now a pleasant interaction, and there were, of course, other things done as well, like television, magazines, all the routine things that you would do, but it illustrates the point how you can change one simple question within a business and absolutely transform the experience. So now we get past reception. What can we do to build confidence? You're looking at a prospect that came in through an inbound telephone call generated from a lead from an advertisement that you've done. And what can you do to influence this individual to buy with you, to take advantage of your service, to essentially become a lifetime client of your establishment? Well, one of the most important things that you can do even before they speak with a physician or consultant or anybody that's going to try to close them on the sale is to build comfort and confidence for your services before the consultation. And this can significantly increase the closing rate, which ensures you're squeezing every last moist drop from your marketing dollar. Everything from who gives the tour and what times, what items are visible, adds or detracts from the ability to close. Building familiarity before you go into your ask is absolutely vital for setting the foundation for the sale. It's easy to look at the process as akin to dating. Would you be more or less likely to say yes to a date if the other person took the time to build rapport before asking? Getting into a business relationship, into a transaction is no different. It's all about the foundation. You need to understand that everything that the person sees, feels, experiences, and hears during this initial process of, let's say, a guided tour that, again, if there was a long waiting time, you would schedule in a guided tour for any new prospect so that she can see the equipment, she can get a feel for the doctor, the signs that you put on the equipment to show that they're state-of-the-art, high-end. You know, everything that's seen with side of the person that you stand on affects the outcome. And all of these things can be built into a process and used to influence the closing rate of anybody coming into your business. Seasonal economic winter's upon us. It's in the news. The economy is in a major slump. Spending is down. Reports of gloom and doom are everywhere. There are businesses going under every single day. It's basically, you know, one of the worst situations that any business person can ever want to experience in their lives, short of a Great Depression or something. You know, economic times are extremely bad right now throughout the world. So what's the good news? Well, people are still spending money. Money cannot stop flowing, and there's plenty of it out there if you know how to get it. It's very crucial to understand that absolutely nothing dries up. You know, unless humanity is extinguished, people will have needs, they'll have desires, they'll be selfish, they'll be wonderful, they'll be happy, they'll be joyous, there'll be weddings, you know, everything will continue, and money will continue to flow. And it's a matter of knowing how to tap your business into that and how to align it. So that's the good news. The great news is that some things are recession-proof. Some customers buy despite the economy because they can or because they want to. Your strategic objective for your business is to align it and your offerings with the right buyers. So you want to have the things that they can't live without. That special treat you know you deserve even though you can't afford it, you know, the special shoes, you know, you've worked hard and you should be coming here, that special little item that they absolutely will treat themselves to and make them feel special. And creating that experiences creates recession-proof businesses. So become the place to turn to for pleasure or necessity in a time of need, and you will be recession-proof. So the question you have to ask yourself is, how are you creating enough desire to make you a must-have in the client's mind? In the carpet industry, there's a great example, and I'd like to share that with you today. Cleaning carpets is essentially a commodity. Anyone who cleans carpets knows that it's kind of the same process. It's soap, it's water, it's a vacuum. They might pick up the rug, they might take it somewhere, and they clean it, and they bring it back, but there's really no magic to it. So there is a company, though, that did something a little bit differently. This company made the case that rugs trap pathogens and allergens like a filter in your home, which essentially is true. They attract dust to them, they attract dirt, they attract things into them. So they set up a scheduled cleaning program as a health precaution, turning the act of cleaning into a must-have health service for people and their children. So they took the commodity and they took essentially the same process of cleaning and they transformed it into a must-have service by linking it to health requirements. So they made people feel guilty if their kids were playing on dirty rugs because those rugs trap pathogens, trapped hair from the dog, whatever it might be. And if they weren't cleaning those rugs on a regular basis, they were creating a health hazard in their home. So it was no longer an aesthetic requirement. It was no longer a, thing that just you do sometimes. It became a scheduled, planned, maintained, health required reason, which is absolutely crucial to understand that you can take anything and with a little bit of work you can transform it into something that people have to have. So what you want to do in your business is eliminate anything that makes your offering a commodity. Don't package your goods or services in a way that the customer can prejudge the value, for example. Sometimes you literally and physically have to think outside the box. So take it out of the norm and create something special and then differentiate that, and you can create a recession-proof business and a recession-proof offering. Step 3 brings us into the actual treatment process itself. If you've managed the client state, you would be ready to wow them with a fantastic and satisfying treatment. But it doesn't mean that your job is done. Thinking strategically and asking yourself what you can do within the treatment process to further that, enhance that, and get the client to be more satisfied, more willing to refer, more willing to come back is absolutely crucial. The first thing that you need to ask is, how is the atmosphere? Atmosphere is absolutely crucial to experience. If you evaluated the overall feeling in your clinic, what words would you use to describe it? What words would your clients want to use? And these are two questions that are very, very important to ask yourself. Take the time to stop and think and ask your staff and see and truly examine what it is that you're offering. Do you have a defined process for how the client should be treated? Is there a set of steps that every employee knows to follow whenever a client walks into your system, essentially, into your business? Don't ever assume that your customer is happy. Take control and ensure success by defining, refining, and enhancing the process of feeling great. One easy way to do it is to have a checklist for the 5 senses. What are the smells? What are the choices that the clients have? What do they see? What do they hear? What do they feel? Combining and integrating the experience is key to an overall pleasant experience. Any one of the 5 senses can disturb the overall level of satisfaction. So you want to make sure that you're managing it and that you don't guess at what will bother someone. Run surveys. It's extremely important to get feedback from your client because you can't guess at what it is that irritates them. So give them the opportunity to speak back. You would be absolutely shocked, surprised, and delighted at how easy it is to get your clients to show you how to make your business better. Give them what they want, but let them tell you what it is that they are looking for. Happy employees breed happy customers. Ask yourself if the staff is content, if they're following the right process, if they're incentivized to make the client happy. And even more importantly, ask yourself if you're spending enough time with your clients. One quick example I can give you regarding that is there's a researcher, her name was Wendy Levinson, and she did a study. She recorded essentially hundreds of phone calls, and she studied doctors that got sued and doctors that didn't get sued. And what she found out is that the ones that didn't get sued essentially spent 3.3 minutes longer with their clientele. The difference was 18.3 minutes versus 15 minutes. So the question is, what were they doing? They essentially made the client feel special, feel understood, and feel listened to. So they asked questions like, first I'll examine you, and then we'll talk about the problem. So, they gave the client reassurance, and then they allowed them to voice their opinion. I'll leave time for your questions. Have I left time? Have I asked you? Have I forgotten? Essentially constantly inquiring, asking the customer, giving the customer this chance to speak their mind. When the customer stated an objection, they would say things like, go on, tell me more about that. So they delved deeply into the customer's concern as opposed to just brushing it off, which creates a sense of understanding. And the power of it is when you really examine the results that these people, ones that felt that they weren't listened to and weren't significant, actually went through the trouble to sue versus people who were so okay with this because they trusted their doctor that they actually didn't sue. That level of emotion is extremely powerful to understand and comprehend. So how are you managing your client's state? What are you doing to make them feel happy? Are you allowing them to get into a funk? Do you actively monitor their body language? Do you watch people throughout their time in your clinic and see if their shoulders are slumped, if they look unhappy? Are you examining the process? Managing their state is absolutely crucial to creating satisfaction. The next important thing to understand is that people have a need to feel significant. You want to make the client feel extraordinary. They don't want to be ordinary. They want to feel awesome when they come to your place of business. So go beyond the norm. add more than you should be adding, delight them, surprise them, enhance the experience as much as you possibly can. Step 4 gets us into the discharge process. So the feeling that the client has when they leave is absolutely crucial to getting better and greater referrals. The feeling that they leave with is most likely the feeling that they're going to share. And even if you've done an absolutely phenomenal job in steps 1 to 3, steps 4 can make or break it, and it's absolutely crucial that you add all of the elements that we've spoken about so far into the final discharge process. So some of the things that you want to take into account is the payment and appointment scheduling process, or the payment process at the end of their visit. Is it private? Are patients able to discreetly pay for any treatments, or are you airing their dirty laundry in front of the entire waiting room? I mean, that's client confidentiality is absolutely crucial, and it's often not paid attention to by the frontline staff. So saying things like, I hope we take care of that cellulite on your butt is probably not what she wants to hear when she's about to pay her bill. So your checkout doesn't have to be at the front desk. Consider a private payment room, or putting technology such as an iPad or Android tablet directly in her hand so she can pay discreetly in the treatment room, making the whole exit process stress-free and relaxed. So, keeping aware of what it is that people are hearing and how they're paying and how satisfied they are upon payment is absolutely important for satisfaction, that last crucial step of when they're walking out. So one of the cheapest and easiest ways to make more money from your existing marketing is to ring the register more often by giving your clients a reason to come back and spend. Loyalty programs such as the Sweet Tooth card, which essentially gets punched every time someone comes and buys a chocolate bar, and they work their way to a free chocolate bar. Little things like this can cost you next to nothing. They can be electronic, they can be paper, such as this one. They really give the person a reason to come back, and it triggers a few psychological elements which causes people to need to complete the process. So those loyalty programs, coupons that expire within 30 days, are you giving your client a reason to come back within 30 days? Are you giving her, a coupon that she can use towards another treatment or a subsequent treatment? Customer appreciation days are also a great tactic. Having them 2, 3, 4 times a year is a phenomenal way to bring people back that may not have come back at that frequency, or that life gets in the way, they forgot to come back, things of that nature. You're giving them a reason essentially to come back without feeling bad about forgetting about you. So when you go back to your business, what you want to ask is, what reasons are you giving them to return? If the answer is no, don't feel bad. You've got a phenomenal opportunity then. You can literally explode your business by starting to give people reasons to come back on every single visit. The very last thing that you want to ask yourself is what's the very final thing I do before I lose touch of that person? So here's a great example from a restaurant that knows how to dazzle their customers at the last point of contact. Because we're running a little short on time, I'll speed up the story. But essentially what they do after you've had a great meal and the driver brings your car back, when you get back to your car, you find a bottle of water on each seat for you and your husband or wife, and a little thank you note and a mint. So everyone's got a little bottle of water for the drive home and a mint. And you can just imagine how delighted people are when they get back and they've got this little treat that was completely unexpected. It cost them next to nothing. But it's clearly orchestrated because this business wants you to feel wonderful when you leave. They want you to tell people about them. And the image here, by the way, is it's an image of a $2,600 bottle of water. So don't let people tell you that there's no money in the economy. I mean, people are spending, and there's plenty of it to be had. Step 5 is the final step in the process here, and it deals with reactivation and what you do for the client once she's gone home. Typical tactics can be following up within 48 hours. I mean, how often do you get a call from your dentist or your masseuse or your esthetician 48 hours after the treatment just to make sure that there's no redness, that everything's okay, there's no pain, everything went wonderfully, and essentially just touching base. That sort of thing can trigger referrals. It can trigger delight. It can trigger happiness. And essentially, eventually it just puts more money in your pocket, and that's the goal of most business owners that I meet with. It's also a great way to reactivate lost customers and recalling active ones. And it can all be done. The wonderful thing about this is it can be done with nothing more than a little bit of time and a telephone. So it can literally cost you $0 to implement this. Asking people how they're doing, how they were, for a busy business that would be delegated to the primary point of contact, like a receptionist or the nurse, if the physician or the primary care individual can make the call, or if your business is struggling and you're looking for ways to improve, you literally can invest your own time and $0 and get the most out of that from the clients you've already seen. Ask them to refer people, ask them to bring a friend, give them a reason, like a day where you can bring a friend for free or half off, or bring a friend and you get a special gift bag or something of that nature. And literally just by picking up the phone, you can swell your business. The last thing I want to leave you with is the mindset of understanding what it is that you want out of your customer. You want to ask yourself how she feels inside, how you've made her feel, both before, during, after, 48 hours after, 6 months after she hasn't come back and you're reactivating her. How does she feel inside about your business? What connection have you made? How your customer feels and connects with your company should be the only question on your mind when she leaves. It'll be the primary reason she'll come back and the main motivator for referring you. But to achieve it, you have to stay committed to her if you want her to be committed to you. And that's absolutely key. Do not let them lose touch by you forgetting about them. It's absolutely crucial that you remember your customers and get in touch with them. The end goals, of course, why you're going through all this trouble: repeat business, larger transactions, more frequent transactions, and referrals. Refine your process, delight your customers, and you'll reap the rewards through great and more frequent sales. So do something and you'll get a tremendous amount back. Parting words: there's of course no smoke without fire. So what are you going to do starting right now to take control of your business and your income? What action are you going to take once this webinar is over? What are you going to do first thing tomorrow morning? How are you going to create a process? How are you going to delight your customer? How are you going to recession-proof your business today, tomorrow morning, right away, to start getting the most of your income? Nothing happens without action, so implementation is absolutely key. At this time, I'm going to ask Kristen to open it up. I believe we have just enough time for questions and answers, and I'll be happy to address anything that anyone has to say.
Great. Thank you so much, Nick. That was so helpful and informative. We do have a few questions for you. Let's just start with this one. Many of our members are business owners. When they started, they weren't thinking about business systems. What's the first thing that you can recommend a business owner do to get clear on what their systems? Nick? All right, hold on just a second. Seems like maybe there's a little bit of...
Sorry.
Oh, okay. Okay, we weren't hearing you. So...
sorry about that, a little technical difficulty.
Yeah, that happens.
I'll answer the questions.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, I was talking in thin air, and basically what I was saying was that you want to start by examining what you're doing right now and create a list and a process out of what you're experiencing now, and then use that to refine a system.
Right.
The thing that most businesses do is that they get overwhelmed by putting something in place. So it's easiest to just start with what you're doing now and then improve upon it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then you mentioned that scripts and consultative selling is so important, especially during the initial contact by telephone and when entering the clinic or the salon or spa. And why are first impressions so important?
First impressions set the stage for how the person's going to feel for the remainder of their visit. So oftentimes if they're given a bad first impression, it can taint the whole experience. It puts them in the wrong frame of mind, and essentially tarnishes everything that you do along the line. So not only is that important, but also understanding that not answering the phone properly and consulting the client into a sale completely wipes out all of the money that you spend on advertising. So that initial point of contact is, I can't stress it enough, that's where, the fly hits the windshield essentially. If that's not right, then everything dies from that point on.
Absolutely. Okay. And then our members often invest and have a lot of great technology and best equipment and things like that. But what else do clients expect from a skincare professional in terms of having a great experience?
I think in any skincare business, people want to feel pampered, they want to feel special, and they want to feel that there's a sense of expertise in the treatment that they're receiving. And how that's built up is absolutely crucial, from the initial phone call to the tour that's given to, even giving the person a little pamphlet that explains what's going to happen, and just sort of setting that stage for expertise and delight. I mean, that's absolutely crucial beyond the equipment, is that they feel that they're getting the absolute best care from the absolutely best people available.
Right. Okay. Wonderful. All right. And then you mentioned how important it is to surprise and delight our clients or our customers. What are some things that our members can do when a patient or client leaves the clinic or the spa or salon?
Essentially, you want to examine their exit strategy, the exit process, and give them a point of delight. So it can be an unexpected little gift. It could be the bottle of water is a great example. The special treat for the ride home, or umbrella, anything that they would just not expect to make their exit more pleasant. If they had a treatment of a certain type, you might give them an unexpected cream that they could take home, which they weren't expecting to get whatsoever, or a little sample, or anything that delights and enhances their experience and their transition out of the clinic.
Yeah. It seems like a lot of times it's the little things, that really speak volumes. So a lot of times people aren't really expecting, anymore. And so then just even a small thing seems like a really, really big deal to them.
Yeah, even the phone call, you'd be shocked at how many people, you call them 1 to 2 days after the treatment, and they're just absolutely blown away that you actually cared enough to follow up.
Right, or like a little handwritten card or something. That's just, people don't
thank
do
you.
that.
I bought let me tell you a quick little story.
Yeah.
I bought a product over the internet, and they shipped it to me. I forget what it was. It was a book or some sort of educational system. And about a week later, I got a little box of cookies. And I was just shocked. I just couldn't believe that this company just sent out a little thank you box of cookies. It was just little things like that. And I'm telling the story now, and it's absolutely essential for getting referrals and getting them to just be
that's great
fervent fans.
Right. That's amazing. Okay, so for owners and managers out there that are listening, what is a good way to really kind of encourage their staff to follow customer service standards that they want to present? Any ideas on that?
Can you clarify that a little bit?
Well, basically, I think that we have some owners and managers out there that want to have a really high standard of excellence for their staff to represent, and but then they feel that sometimes it's hard to motivate, their staff to go the extra mile and to always give their best. Do you have any tips on that?
Sure. That's a very complex question, but I'll try to give you a few little tips.
Okay.
People, essentially employees, have the same psychological requirements that customers do. So a lot of times they want to feel significant. They want to feel like they're making a difference. They want to feel like they're contributing. So anytime you put processes in place, for example, if you have a graduated system that they can progress through. So they're not just the receptionist. They're receptionist tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. And that type of stuff that gives them a point to achieve, and it has little benefit increases as they achieve it, gives them something to work towards, and it enhances their desire to contribute, which is absolutely crucial. You can't just ask a person to do a better job. You have to motivate them to do a better job. And that's, like I said, it's a very complex issue, but that's one thing that I found to be very effective, is when they're working towards a goal. for their own benefit, they're much more likely to do a better job.
Of course, that makes a lot of sense, absolutely. Well, I think we're just about out of time now, so I just wanted to thank you very much again for being a wonderful presenter for us. And for all of our members out there who are tuning in live, I just want to direct your attention again to the last slide here. So if you would like to contact Nick, you can look at the contact information here. Also for our ascpskincare.com website, on our continuing education calendar, there's more information about Nick's business and how you can benefit from being in touch with him and how he can work with you specifically to become more successful in your business. So once again, thank you so much, Nick. We so appreciate your help and your expertise. And I'd like to say thank you to all of our attendees for logging on today live, and for anyone else who may have joined in late and wanted to go ahead and catch up with the rest. Again, we're going to be recording this and then also just archiving it on our website under our website archive section. So thanks very much. Really appreciate it, and everyone be well.